So we had that barnstorming speech at the United Nations yesterday from Donald Trump, giving this sclerotic organisation and the many problematic nations gathered there a wake-up call, a reality check on war and peace, on the UN's role, on immigration and on climate and energy. Well, we got the polar opposite today, and it came from our own Prime Minister.
The reason this institution has endured is because it belongs to all of us, because it has been built and shaped by all of us. And it is up to all of us to bring new strength to the United Nations' enduring mission.
Yeah, our dewy-eyed Anthony Albanese, the man who is a member of the socialist left faction and used to protest against Israel on the streets, the man who says Hamas will just walk away from any role in Gaza or a future Palestinian state, the man who says renewable energy is reliable and cheap and will change the weather, the man who says record immigration has nothing to do with the housing crisis in his own country, the man who says Donald Trump is scary and then scrambles to get a humiliating selfie with him. Well, I guess with all that in his record, it's hardly surprising that Anthony Albanese thinks the UN is the future. He's so all in on the United Nations that he wants to spend tens of millions of your dollars, and Lord knows how many tonnes of carbon, hosting the annual UN Climate Talkfest in Adelaide next year. And he's even topped that now, announcing that what will no doubt be an even more expensive bid to grab a temporary spot on the United Nations Security Council, a bid that's likely to cost not just dollars, but also foreign policy compromises.
This is a platform for middle powers and small nations to voice and achieve our aspirations. And that is why Australia is seeking a place on the UN Security Council in 2029-30.
I hate that term middle power that he uses for Australia. We're no middling power. We are a significant nation and should behave like a significant nation. And anyway, this deference towards the UN, this throwing our lot in with the UN, was taken to extraordinary lengths this week by Labor. Normally, you'd send the Foreign Minister to the United Nations General Assembly. I did it many times when I worked for Alexander Downer. And if the Prime Minister needed to go, well, then the Foreign Minister didn't. But this week in New York, we have had the PM strutting his stuff.
This is a place for the global spotlight to shine on suffering and struggles that might otherwise be forgotten, and for the international community to work together to advance our shared interests and to tackle challenges we cannot meet alone.
And he's been aided and abetted, of course, by his mate, the Ambassador, the former Prime Minister.
I am utterly optimistic about how we navigate the future of the Australia-US relationship. And that's why we were delighted to have the White House confirm this morning that the PM will be back in the United States on the 20th of October to meet with the President of the United States in Washington, D.C.
And the Foreign Minister and her team have been there just echoing all of those same efforts.
And we continue and we call for the establishment of a Palestinian state, which Australia recognised this week for the first time in over 70 years.
And then with all the climate grandstanding going on, the Climate and Energy Minister and his team couldn't stand to miss out.
There are remarkable opportunities, not just the jobs that can be created in large-scale wind and large-scale solar, as important as that is, but each and every day a revolution being undertaken in our suburbs and our regions.
But wait, there's still more. Trying to take the lead on social media bans, not even the Communication Minister could Skype into the UN. She decided she had to turn up in the flesh too.
We want kids to know who they are before platforms assume who they are. We are on the sides of families. We are on the side of kids.
Well, it's not as if there are any problems back home with telcos, eh? This is ridiculous overkill, of course. an alarming demonstration of Labor's priorities. And of course, the taxpayer-funded broadcaster was there in force too, as I pointed out the other night, Speers, Tingle and Lyons, because no doubt the usual US crew couldn't possibly handle covering these stories. I guess if you're talking climate action and demonising Israel and nanny state laws, everyone from the ABC was champing at the bit to be there. The sad joke is that you and I all have to pay for this. We pay for this with the millions of dollars spent on this indulgence, of course, but we also pay for it with a government that's lost sight of the cost of living crisis and its day-to-day responsibilities. It's fallen for the siren song of the UN crowd, global talk fests, first-class travel and fancy hotels. Lucky they don't worry too much about their carbon footprints.